tired of the sensationalization of jumping on TRT, because as soon as you jump on TRT, there are instant risks. I don't think there's anybody else on YouTube who is best to talk about on this subject. I mean, you are such a wealth of information. I just kind of want to present some facts so that young guys watching this video know exactly what they're getting themselves into if they decide to jump on, PEDs, TRT, HRT, whatever you want to call it.
Oh my God, my God, my God, my God, my God. Oh. A few days ago, Scott Herman, a very famous fitness YouTuber, talked about TRT for the second time. So we are going to do a second video on his second video. And for his video, he invited Derek from More Plates, More Dates as a TRT specialist.
This is the TRT and Hormone Optimization YouTube channel. And if you want to learn all about the science-based information on this topic, consider subscribing, hit that notification bell, and you'll be on your way. Hey guys, Danny Bossa, the TRT Hormone Optimization YouTube channel. So we did a video, a reaction video, if you will, on that video that Scott Herman did, freaking out over TRT use, which I thought was kind of silly. I'm guessing he saw our video, and I know a bunch of people that I know sent the video to him. He ended up making another video. I don't know if the video is supposed to be in response to what we did, or maybe in response to a lot of other people saying stuff or doing videos about the same subject. But he ended up getting Derek from More Plates, More Dates. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of Derek. I've seen a lot of Derek's stuff. To come on as the TRT expert, or the best TRT expert he could find on YouTube. I've got mad love for Derek, frankly. I think he's extremely knowledgeable, in particular on the anabolic side. However, on the TRT side, I feel he's lacking in some very, very small areas. So I want to go over a couple of things that we saw here. So the very first one was this clip that we just watched, where Scott is saying, when you get on TRT, there's instant risks. You're taking instant risks. What risks? What risks? Risks of harm? Risks of what exactly? Okay. It starts off the video is almost like, okay, this is something you need to be afraid of. And that drives me nuts right off the back. As soon as someone's saying that, it drives me up right off the bat. What are the risks? The risks are, if you're on it long enough, you're probably going to want to stay on it long term. Okay. This is going to be a lifetime commitment. Number one. Yes, there are some people that just hop onto it, not really knowing. And then a year or two later, they say, oh, this isn't for me. I want to get off. And now they have a really difficult time restarting their natural production. Absolutely. Okay. But the guys that at least know that if they're going to do this and they feel better and they have symptom resolution, they know that's going to be a lifetime thing. This isn't something that they're breaking their heads over as, what if one day I get off? I myself, if I compare myself to now, compared to the way I was prior to me starting, I mean, there is no way that I will ever go back to that. I know I will be on this for the rest of my life. Okay. Some of the risks, you could have lowered fertility slightly. Yes, there are ways to mitigate that, which we will discuss after. But risks involving your health, risks involving harm to your health, harm to your body. I'm sorry, there is no demonstration of testosterone causing harm. And when I say testosterone, I'm saying testosterone, the natural compound that our bodies make. Okay. Because they also go into a lot of, and you're going to see this later, blurring the line between testosterone replacement therapy and using anabolic steroids. Anabolic steroids being the synthetic testosterone derivatives that bodybuilders use, and testosterone. These are two completely different things. One is natural, one is made in our body and has a lot of different functions, and the synthetic anabolics have a very specific function of building mass. Okay, so it's a variation of testosterone where they're tweaking the molecules to have an impact on specifically building mass or whatever else. Okay, this is not anything that the body recognizes in contrast to testosterone. So he brought on Derek as the expert. I've seen there's no better expert out there. I think there are better experts out there, frankly, many of them that we've had here on this channel. And he wanted to present the facts. So I listened to the video, and again, notes after notes after notes after notes. And I want to go through it because this is my world, guys. Sorry, but it is. So here's the one of the things he brings up as one of the potential risks.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest things, because when I made my videos on TRT, I had people reaching out to me on Instagram. You know, people who actually had symptoms of low T, and they just talk about how it was like one of the most difficult decisions they had to make in their entire life. I had this one guy message me because him and his wife wanted to have kids.
Yeah.
And, you know, he literally suffered through symptoms of barely being able to function until his wife got pregnant and they had their daughter, because he was so afraid of becoming sterile.
One thing to keep in mind too about that is the guys who are on TRT, they're likely going to put themselves in a position where when they do want to get their wife pregnant, they're going to go through that phase that guy went through with low T and feel like dog shit while they recover their fertility and clear the hormones out of their system and go back to shutting themselves down and then having to restart their fertility with a bunch of drugs.
So Scott here is basically saying that taking testosterone is going to make you sterile, and that he sees guys that are, you know, they have to suffer. They have to go through all of the suffering and feeling like crap and no energy, no libido, because, you know, maybe they get married and they want to have kids and their wives want to get pregnant, you know, so I'm not going to take care of this now. I'm going to wait till I, you know, get her pregnant, and then probably I'll get on testosterone replacement therapy. Hopefully, if that's the only kid we're going to have, because, you know, if we want to have several kids, well, I might need to feel like shit for the next 10 years for all I know, right? Derek, as you see, follows it up by saying that you got to get off TRT and get shut down to get sperm production up and running. This was the very first time I've ever heard Derek say something that really disappointed me, because I thought for sure he was going to correct Scott and say, well, you know, there are ways to mitigate this. First and foremost, guys taking testosterone replacement therapy, if you think that you're sterile because you're taking testosterone and you're having lots of sex, you know what we call guys like you? We call them fathers, okay? Because just because you're on replacement therapy does not guarantee sterility, okay? It does not. I still am yet to go get my vasectomy, okay? And I sure as hell will get one, because taking testosterone is not making me sterile, and I can't take that kind of risk, okay? There are things that people can do. You do not need to go through years and years and years of feeling like crap. And when I say feeling like crap, again, I'm going to discuss this later on and get a lot more specific as to what I refer to as reasons or not reasons to take TRT. But there is no reason, if you have a measurable deficiency and that you really should get on it, or you have all the symptoms of low T, there is no reason to put yourself through that kind of hell just for the sake of maintaining fertility. Virtually every single guy that comes into our Facebook group or goes to see physicians that we know, the very first question is, do you need to retain fertility? Yes or no? If you don't need to retain fertility, the point is moot. If you do need to retain fertility, what are they going to do? Are you planning on having kids in the very near future? Are you planning on having kids later on? You can get on HCG. HCG will ensure that your testicular function is maintained to have some kind of fertility. Now, if your goal is to absolutely have a kid, and if you don't have a kid, it'll be the biggest, worst thing that could ever happen in your life, there are ways that you can go about doing this responsibly. Go get your semen frozen. Go get a sperm frozen and have that aside, okay? You get on testosterone replacement therapy, you feel better, and you take HCG to maintain that production. And you tell your significant other that you've gotten on TRT because it has resolved all the issues you have, your health has improved, okay? And you're also taking something to ensure that sperm production is maintained, but you were responsible enough that prior to doing said treatment, you actually had some sperm frozen. So in case everything goes horribly wrong, you have a backup, okay? This is responsible. This is what an educated guy who has done his research and looked into stuff will do. And if you go to a physician that knows what the hell they're doing, they will basically tell you to do something like this. You do not get off testosterone therapy to get your wife or significant other pregnant. It's nuts. You don't do that. Anyone that listened to that video even thought for one iota, you know what? I'm on TRT and I really want to get my wife pregnant. So let me get off TRT to ensure what do you think is going to happen? Your libido is going to crash. Your erections are going to suck. You're going to have no energy. You want to get your wife pregnant? Guess what? You got to be having a lot of sex to get that done, right? How are you going to doing that when your testosterone levels are absolutely tanked? It's nuts, okay? You're going to need the testosterone now more than ever to drive libido, to drive erections, to drive energy, to drive all these things, okay? And you add something to the mix to boost sperm production using HCG, HMG. There's even talks of the peptide called kisspeptin that does that. Okay, but there are ways to mitigate that. So if anybody on the planet tells you you want to get your wife pregnant, get off TRT, just like, no, don't ever do that. It's nuts. It's insane. I see doctors recommending that, and it's crazy. Okay, we've had Jordan Grant on several times, Dr. Jordan Grant, who's a urologist, and that maddens him to no end when patients are coming to see him and they want a second opinion, and they're like, my other doctor here told me I got to get off testosterone to get my wife pregnant. You should see this guy. The veins are popping out of his head and steam shooting out of his ears. And he's a urologist. He's like, no, we're not going to get you off TRT. We're going to give you something to boost your sperm production, and you're going to be good. And that's it. Okay. So out of the way right there. Again, when I did the first video, it was clear as day that Scott Herman has zero understanding of testosterone replacement therapy. Probably a really good trainer. Okay, so training for him is like he's here, and I'm nothing. Okay, but when it comes to testosterone replacement therapy, to go on giving your opinion about something that you clearly know nothing about is silly. Okay, it's absolutely silly. This is the equivalent of me saying, I want to do a video here and I want to discuss string theory. So here's a string. Okay, I've got a string. So let's discuss string theory. I know all about it because I know about string. It's crazy. Don't talk about things you know nothing about. Okay, it just makes you look silly. And going into this next clip right here, you can understand that he's never done TRT. Clearly, he doesn't know anything about TRT. Doesn't know anything about dosing. I mean, watch this.
And I guess a lot of the doctors don't quite understand the dosing as well. I actually have a client who just started TRT about a month ago, and a lot of guys talk about they feel like Superman, then they just drop because they're only getting their injections like sometimes once a month, maybe every 2 weeks, and when in reality they might need it every week. And there's some different talks about how often you should be getting your injections to do that, and so the clinic will probably give it to you maybe more often, or it's easier to convince the clinic to let you get your injections more often versus maybe your doctor that you're going to. What do you think about that?
A logical and intelligent approach would be, let's try to maintain normal blood levels throughout the week, consistently, rather than spike them into dangerous territory and then crash them down into also dangerous territory over and over again.
So right here, what is being said here? Scott is basically saying, your doctor tells you got to take it every 3 weeks or every 2 weeks or every 10 days, maybe you might even need it every week. Yeah. Derek then goes on to say, you want to do it more frequent. Love that. But he says to avoid spiking levels into dangerous territory. Can someone please present me the literature as to what is considered dangerous territory? Because I just go through research all day long, all week long, and I have not seen a single study where any level of testosterone has demonstrated harm. And again, when I'm talking about testosterone levels causing harm, I'm talking strictly testosterone, but Derek keeps going into the AAS world of bodybuilders where they're getting on these huge cycles and it's potentially getting into dangerous territory. You can't compare the two. Why do we keep blurring the lines between bodybuilding cycles of AAS and testosterone replacement therapy? I have not found a single paper that shows if you get to this level, that's dangerous for these reasons that we can demonstrate. There is no literature that talks about this, okay? This is hearsay. It's nonsense. You can't back it up. There's nothing to support your statement. Derek, you should know better than this. I'm disappointed, frankly, okay? Scott talking about, dosing, every 3 weeks, every 2, maybe he might even need it every week. If you guys are doing injections and you are injecting on any less of a frequency than every week, you are doing it wrong, okay? Every 10 days, you're not going to be optimal. Every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, you are most definitely not going to be optimal. By the bare minimum should be once a week when I'm talking enanthate and I'm talking cypionate. If you're going to start talking about undecanate and sustanon and whatever else, there's a different schools of thought. I even think that sustanon should be injected at the minimum once a week. Undecanate is a whole other thing. I don't even think that should be used for TRT, frankly. But with a half-life of roughly a week for enanthate and cypionate, injecting that anything more than 2 or 3 weeks it is crazy, okay? Because you're going to get a spike, and over the course of 2 or 3 weeks, you're going to wait till you're absolutely tanked, and then you're going to spike it again, okay? Now, Derek is making it sound like you're spiking it into dangerous territory. No, you're not spiking it into dangerous territory. The funny thing is, on the damn vial of enanthate, I have enanthate, it says to be injected every 2 weeks, which is nuts. Even the pharmaceutical companies don't really understand how this works in the body, okay? You don't want to have a spike and then a down and then a spike and then another crash and on and on. You want to keep them stable. So if you are taking every week and every day you feel roughly the same, and when I'm saying the same, maybe you feel really good or you don't feel good, but you feel roughly the same, you know that once a week is probably fine. And most guys are probably doing once a week and probably fine. The guys that come into our Facebook group are the ones where they're doing once a week and it didn't work, or they're trying this and it didn't work. Those, like the problematic type guys, those are the guys that come into our group saying, hey, I've tried this and it hasn't quite worked for me. The vast majority of guys are actually doing once a week. That's what doctors tend to prescribe. They take their once a week. It always just works. They go on their way. They forget about it. They feel better. And those aren't the guys we see. Now, I always recommend personally, and I'm just, again, based on experience and based on how many guys have come in, just to do twice a week. Twice a week for probably 90% of guys out there will maintain very stable levels. You won't have one big spike on the day and then a crash and so on and so on. I also find that some guys are very sensitive to when their levels are high for a day or two and then the levels dropping. I'm definitely one of those guys. Okay, so there was just so much. The whole thing about spiking things into dangerous territory just drives me nuts. If somebody can provide me a single study that says if you exceed this amount, you're causing harm and can demonstrate it, please send it to me, because I haven't found one yet. I keep asking for them. I haven't found one yet. So it's just funny how this whole subject for Scott angers him. It constantly angers him. Now, watch these couple of clips and you're going to get an idea what I mean. And it's not just him doing that. There's a lot of people on doing videos doing precisely the same thing. Take a look for yourself.
Because I was just so angry seeing people who clearly didn't need TRT as much as they say, oh, I was tired in the morning or, you know, whatever, I had some symptoms. Like, no, bro.
No, like, healthy 24, 25-year-old is like clinically deficient unless they're like intentionally destroying themselves through their lifestyle. Like, I feel like most people, they don't respect the come out story very much anyways.
I get so angry about this topic is because 90% of the people that are watching these videos, they're not trying to have a career in bodybuilding or in fitness. They just want to go to the gym, work out, and look good.
Our channels, and we kind of like, that's why we kind of like not make fun of it, but try to like expose the, you know, potential irresponsible nature of that by making it seem like, oh, it's just normal to get prescribed steroids when you want to take it to the next level, when it's like, typically it should not work like that, where you just like, you know, like you should just say the reason why you're doing it.
So he says that he gets angry when guys go on TRT. Who is he to decide what a guy does with his body? You know what? If you want to go and inject yourself with 5,000 milligrams of tren every single week, go do it. Go do it. Do I think it's a good idea? No, I don't think it's a good idea. It's your body. Okay. If you want to take drugs or you want to drink alcohol or you want to down 3 bottles of vodka every day, or you want to take 50 painkillers every day, it's your body. Who am I to tell you what you're allowed or not allowed to do? Now, if you ask me my opinion, should I be doing this? I'm going to say, no, I don't think it's a good idea. I think you're going to hurt yourself. But at the end of the day, you're a grown ass man and you've made a decision and go do that. Okay. And that's it. Now, I don't understand why he gets so angry when guys get on TRT. I'm kind of the opposite. I've seen so many guys coming in and they're like, you know, listen, I feel like this, and I've tried this, and I've tried antidepressants, and then my doctor gave me Viagra or Cialis, and I've done this, and I have issues, and I don't know what to do, and I'm thinking about this TRT stuff. And you look at his labs, the guy's deficient, and you're basically yelling at him, and you're like, yes, by all means, you're a 42-year-old man, and your total T is 190 NGDL. This is going to be life changing. And they get on, you don't hear from them for a while, and they pop back into the Facebook group, and it's like, oh my God, like this was the greatest thing ever. Why didn't I know about this before? Why weren't my doctors telling me about this before? Okay. He goes on to say that there's no healthy 24 to 25-year-old to be deficient unless steroid use. Do you have any idea how many freaking guys under 24 to 25 years old come into our group? There's guys 19 years old. 18 years old, 20 years old coming in. You take one look at them, and these guys have not done roids, okay? These guys don't even train. Maybe they do a little bit of training. To suggest that if you're low, it means that you took anabolics. No, I'm sorry, that's not the case. Are there guys that have taken anabolics and destroyed their natural production? Absolutely, okay? But to say that under 25 years old was caused by AAS, no, I'm sorry. Testosterone levels are going down. They're going down through the toilet. Year after year after year, they are going down. There is a measurable, demonstrable link that's showing these levels going down, not only just testosterone, but sperm count. And there's a huge worry right now that in the coming decades, most men will probably be infertile. I suspect, just on what I've been seeing over the last 10 years, that my kids, I've got 3 sons. I wouldn't be surprised if 2 out of 3 of them get on TRT, because we're getting poisoned by our environment, by the stuff that the food that we eat, the water that we're drinking, the plastics, all these preservatives, all these stuff that we're constantly bombarding with the air we breathe. It's going to affect testosterone levels. And not only that, the same testosterone level that we used to have that would have resolved symptoms just doesn't have that same bang for the buck anymore. It just doesn't. I see guys at like 800 total T, they have all the symptoms. On paper, they look fantastic. That 800 total T is doing nothing for them, okay? This is going to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. He goes on to talk about, this is the thing that pisses me off. Oh my God, this come out message. Why is it anyone's business? He's angry because they use TRT for bodybuilding instead of training natural, and they want to expose the irresponsible nature. And then you wonder why there's come out videos. I don't understand why someone has to make a come out video, okay? I got on TRT at one point. I happened to talk about it. Maybe I got on TRT one point and I say to myself, I'm just going to tell my wife and my best friend, and that's it. I don't need to tell anybody. I don't need to justify shit about what I do with my body, okay? And neither do you. If you find yourself in any kind of position where you're justifying something that you wanted to do with your own body for what you feel is the good reason, you don't have to justify shit, okay? And what happens is the guys that come out, look at How to Beast guy. He comes out, says precisely what he was doing and why and blah, 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 blah. He gets flamed. Then you got the guys that are doing it for all the wrong reasons. They get flamed. Then you get the guys that don't admit it, but then someone finds out about it and they get flamed. It's like, you know the expression like fucked if you do, fucked if you don't? It's like, it doesn't matter what you do today. You're going to get flamed. Someone's going to flame you. Okay. But if I was to say, yeah, I'm taking these antidepressants, I'm taking these painkillers, I'm taking this, I'm taking this, I'm taking all these drugs because I have all these health issues, no one's going to say anything. They're going to say, oh, Danny's on a lot of medication. Okay. No one's going to say anything. If I say, you know what? I found a way to get rid of all this shit and I just got my androgen levels up and I feel like $1 million. Suddenly it's like, oh, Danny Bossa's on steroids. He's on steroids, but he's on a lower dose of steroids. And then but now I feel like I got to justify myself, right? So I say, well, it's for replacement and it's because I had these issues. No, you're on steroids. And no, it's because I measured myself and my levels were here. And I thought maybe if I tried it here and it's like everybody just flames people for wanting to feel better. And when I started off on this thing, I found myself doing that myself. I found myself justifying my actions. After a while, I'm like, I don't got to justify. I mean, I love you guys, but I don't care what you think of me, okay? If I want to take more, I want to take less. I want to stop my TRT. Maybe I want to take HCG. Maybe I don't. Maybe I want to add Provider. And maybe I want to take what business is it of yours what I'm going to do, okay? It's not any business of yours. It's up to you to get educated, understand what you're going to be doing to your body, be fully educated on the process, and then take the best decision based on discussions you have with your own physician. Okay. You don't have to tell anybody. You don't got to do anything. You don't got to justify it and stop. These fitness personalities, yes, they're thrown into a predicament because they're like, well, I am getting jacked and jacked and jacked, and I'm telling them to train like this. And they're like, well, people are like, how come I don't look like him and I'm eating like him and I'm training like him? There's things that you got to keep in mind. I'm actually going to get into that shortly, but this whole thing about the come out videos, again, Moraine, if I forget how he has his name pronounced, he admitted to it. The guy from How to Beast, those other guys, they do these come out videos as if to say, you know what, I want to be as honest as possible with my viewers, so I'm going to tell them precisely what I'm doing, and that'll come across the right way. And they still get flamed. And if it was anything other than testosterone, no one would say anything. But because it's testosterone and it's bad and it's taboo and you're taking steroids and it's just steroids at a low dose, and guys, everyone just give it a rest, leave it alone. It drives me nuts. But again, Scott, I mean, just watch this really quick.
Yeah, and on my channel, obviously, I preach a lot about staying natural. That's just my belief system for the way I train. I tell the same story all the time. My dad dropped me off at the gym when I was like 14 when I first started working, and he's like, stay natural, you'll keep your gains forever, you'll feel better, I won't have to worry about any of the risks. And that just kind of stuck with me. And that's why that's kind of always been my mantra. And it's a fine mantra to have.
Okay, so Scott Herman is clearly natural. He keeps telling everyone how clearly natural he is. And I mean, I take one look at him, and I mean, there's no doubt in my mind this guy's natural. There's nothing enhanced about his physique at all. I'm sorry that there's not. And he talks about how his father told him, always stay natural, always stay natural. Just you keep going, you keep pushing, you keep training, and you make sure you stay natural and you stay natural. And then one day, if you've gotten to that limit and you want to do something, then fine, but only like when you're like 40 or 45 or older. I was that guy. Okay. I come from a really, you wouldn't maybe tell from my character, but I come from a really wholesome, family-oriented, super old school Italian family. Okay. None of my family got into drugs. None of them. We didn't have any family members on drugs. We didn't have any family members on alcohol. We don't have any family members with addiction. The worst I did is I used to smoke. I was always a stressed out guy, especially prior to TRT, and I used to smoke, and I stopped that stuff, feeling a million times better. By the way, guys, anybody on TRT who smokes and is trying to figure out what's wrong with their protocol, what's wrong with your protocol is this, okay? Throw this out and you're going to feel a lot better, okay? I was one of those guys that I saw everybody going and taking steroids and Anavar and this and that, and they're getting big, and I wanted to be just like that. And I trained and I trained and I trained and I trained and I trained. And I ate and I was following. I had all the bodybuilding magazines and I'd read the diets. Back then when I was younger, we didn't have the internet. I'd be reading this stuff and doing the workouts. And I was trying so hard. I was trying so desperately to put on some size. And I just couldn't put on any size. Okay. And if my father at the time would have known that I was looking into whatever, let's say I was at the time, he would have probably told me the same thing. Hey, stay natural, keep your body healthy, eat the right foods and train the right way, and it's going to bring up your levels or whatever else. Guys, it's not that simple. It's really not that simple. I wish I would have started years prior, because now that I've seen the difference between the deficient Danny Bossa and the optimized Danny Bossa, we're not even the same person anymore. Hell, I don't even look the same. Even my face has changed. My wife posted a picture in Facebook showing my before and after. And you look at the old me, and I was just so scrawny, and I looked so fragile, and I looked frail and sick compared to now. And I'm like, why didn't I do this before? You don't have to, how do I explain this? You don't have to avoid taking or trying something that may potentially make you feel a lot better if you really don't feel well. If you're really not feeling well and you feel like there's something is off, and particularly if you go get a serum test and your levels are on the low end, there's nothing stopping you from saying, you know what, let me try this and see if I feel better. Okay. You don't go around now telling everyone I'm on steroids, because that's ridiculous. Okay. If it's going to help you and improve your health, take control of your health and get it done. And to hell what everyone else thinks. You want to tell people, great. You don't want to tell people, great. It's your body. It's your choice. He's talking about how irresponsible some people are. Okay. I jotted down a couple of reasons, right reasons and wrong reasons why guys get on TRT. Okay. So number one is you have a real measurable deficiency. Okay. So my total testosterone was 220 nanograms per deciliter. I was off the charts on the low end. At the time, the range was 300 up to about 1200, and I was at 220. So it was pretty easy for me to get a prescription because I was measurably low. Actually, even then it was a challenge. Okay. But that's one reason why a guy gets on TRT, for the right reason. Another reason is he's in the lower end of the range, but still in the range and has all the symptoms. Well, if you're in the low end of the range and you have all the symptoms, you can obviously try taking testosterone replacement therapy. Chances are it's going to work because you're measurably low and you're going to see what the outcome is. Okay. Then you got the guys that are mid-range with all the symptoms. So maybe they have a total T about 500, 550, maybe even heading towards 600. They still have all the symptoms. What do you do then? Let's do a trial of testosterone to see if it resolves the symptoms that testosterone tends to resolve. And that's the part that drives me nuts. If you have every single one of these symptoms and it's like, this is classic testosterone deficiency symptoms, but I'm measurably okay on paper. Well, let me try, if I brought it up just slightly, what would happen? If you bring it up just slightly and then everything improves across the board, where's the issue here? Okay. Now, again, you have to rule out obvious issues. Do you have a shitty diet? Are you under crazy amounts of stress? Are you on any type of other medication that could be causing these issues? Okay, what's your sleep like? You sleeping 2 hours a night? You know, are you a smoker? Maybe you've never trained a day in your life. Yes, if you're one of those guys and you're saying, well, let me go look at the testosterone because that's got to be the fix. No, you're just being an idiot. Okay, you need to at least rule out the obvious. And any doctor worth his weight is going to make sure that you rule out the obvious. Now, if you've ruled out the obvious, you can try that. And if it helps, great. Okay. Then you got the guys, and these are the more complicated ones, but the guys that are high end of normal, but have all the symptoms. You would think that if they're high end of normal, well, they look fantastic on paper. Their total T is 900. They should be fine. You know what? Not all the freaking time they're not. There's some guys coming in and they're not the bodybuilder training types. They're high end of normal. They have all the symptoms, and sometimes they almost got to double their levels. And then suddenly, oh my God, everything works. I feel better. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, what are you going to do with that guy? Tell him, yeah, sorry, we can't boost it up because on paper you're okay. It doesn't work that way. Okay, then you got the guys that have no symptoms, that have decent levels, but they want to be better. Okay, so this is where you can start getting into, do you want to call that irresponsible or whatever? You know, let's say the guy of, or actually not even that, it wouldn't really count, but let's just say a guy who's got T levels of 600. Okay, he's got T levels of 600. He's got zero symptoms. He trains, he eats well, he sleeps well, he keeps the stress under control. He's having vitamins, having this and that. But he's so caught up in trying to make himself the best he can be. And he's gotten to a certain age, perhaps, he's over 30, maybe he's over 35. And he's saying, you know what? I want to see if I can push the envelope even further by bringing my levels up a little bit more. Now, anybody that wants to do that, I would agree. You want to try to at least be a little older. If you're in your 20s, especially your teens, but if you're teens, 20s, and you're thinking about that, no, now you're just being a moron, okay? If you've got no symptoms and your testosterone levels are in the mid-range or starting to approach the higher end, don't touch it, okay? Leave it alone, because you might get into your 30s and develop a little bit more maturity. Maybe this stuff isn't that big of a deal for you, and you're going to say, you know what? I feel great. I feel fantastic. I don't have any issues. You know, it's a good thing I didn't get on that TRT because I would have messed up a good thing, okay? Moral of the story is don't mess up a good thing. Then you got the guys that are taking it for all the wrong reasons. Like I said, the guy's 19, he's in the gym, whatever. Oh, I'm training so hard and I can't put on, there's no gains, you know, and I'm with my friends and this and that, and maybe I can get on TRT and maybe it's going to help. And you measure them and their levels are really decent and they have no symptoms, but they really just want it for the gains. Now, those are the idiots out there. Those are the guys that you just want to slap. If you have no symptoms, you're healthy, you're young, do not get on TRT, okay? Don't do it. If you're doing it, you're being an idiot, okay? You need to, these guys, you know, and I was kind of like that myself. Genetics is huge, okay? Genetics is huge here when it comes to training. My genetics are okay, but I'm not going to ever be a 260-pound Goliath, okay? My genetics don't handle that. If you're a skinny little guy in your 20s and you've been training and eating, getting nowhere, but you otherwise feel great and have healthy levels of test, do not get on testosterone replacement therapy and ruin your natural production. That's silly, okay? Don't do it there. The last clip I saw was, actually there's two more, but this one really, really made me laugh.
They wouldn't have me do something that's gonna, hurt my organs. And, we still don't know what's going to happen to these people, 5 years from now, 10 years from now.
So the guy doesn't want to, potentially do anything to hurt his organs 5 to 10 years from now. Hurt his organs how? Scott, can you send me, okay? I'll leave my email address at the bottom of this thing. Can you send me your evidence of how testosterone is going to hurt your organs? Pick an organ. I don't even care what organ. Any organ you want. Send it to me and tell me that in 5 to 10 years, if you take this amount of testosterone, it's going to harm this organ, and show me which organ and the studies to support it, because there are not. Testosterone is cardioprotective, it's prostate protective, it's heart protective, it's neural protective. It is protective of so many things, which is one of the main reasons why I take it to this day, is I'm trying to maintain or improve my health, because clearly prior to TRT, I was not healthy, okay? I'm doing this for the long term, so that when I'm in my 70s and I look around at all my frail buddies who, weren't doing all that well, I'm going to be thankful that I did this, that I took this decision, okay? And the main problem of why guys are afraid and why guys are worrying about harm is because of guys like this.
Yeah, I think he was talking about a client he had that was on TRT for like 4 years, and his body just started shutting down. They can't figure out what's wrong with him.
The anabolic doc or somebody else? The guy who's like super high energy, who's always like, this is crazy.
He used to be a power lifter.
We need to talk, guys. I love it. I love that guy. He's awesome.
In one of his recent videos where he was discussing one of Greg's videos, he was talking about, how you can be on TRT and do everything correctly, and then, your body can still start to shut down.
But I talked to a man today who, after 4 years of being on testosterone, he did minimal steroids, his sex drive is horrible, his penis and his perineum and his sexual function, he's numb, and he has some depression, and we can't even, I can't figure it out.
It's just in the way he talks. I had a guy, he came in and he was like, he's falling apart. His body's falling apart. He used to take steroids, but now today his body's falling apart from the testosterone and his, Jesus Christ. Like, it's the fear, and everyone be afraid, and you gotta be afraid of this stuff. It's dangerous, because if you don't deal with a doctor like me, you could harm yourself and potentially kill yourself. Make sure you call me the anabolic doc, because I'm the only one on the planet that understands testosterone, and I'm here to make sure that you're safe. This guy drives me nuts. He drives me nuts. I watched some of his videos where he's talking about the history of certain compounds and stuff, and I actually find that kind of interesting. But when he gets into the fear-mongering stuff is when it drives me nuts. It's the guys that make these kinds of videos that make everyone stop and say, shit, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. And I don't want to have a heart attack. I don't want to stroke out. Oh man, you know what? Maybe I should just live with ED the rest of my life. Maybe I should just live with no libido, because at least I won't die. And at least this won't happen to me, because this guy is saying that all this harm can happen. And, Thomas O'Connor, like, seriously, dude, why not do education? A guy that used to take steroids, right? He used to take steroids, meaning the synthetic derivatives, but now he's just on testosterone replacement therapy. His body is falling apart. It's got to be the testosterone. You've demonstrated it's the testosterone. The testosterone is making the guy's body fall apart. There's no way that it's all the shit he took before, right? There's no way that he's got something in his diet or some kind of deficiency. There's no way he's got some kind of underlying disease. It could be a metabolic disease, could be autoimmune disease. No way it could be something you haven't figured out. It has to be the fucking testosterone. Why does it always have to be the testosterone? It's stuff like this that drives me nuts. And there's other doctors that are the same way. They talk about, you need to be afraid of this stuff, and it's so dangerous. So make sure you deal with me, Dr. blah, blah, blah. And I'll make sure I can take care of you at my crazy high fees. Guys, this stuff is so freaking simple, okay? There is no data that any of this causes harm. We've been looking and looking and looking and looking, and I found nothing. And when I keep asking for people to send me shit, they don't send me anything, okay? Every single one is a study having to do with a bodybuilder. And bodybuilders don't take just high doses of testosterone. They don't. I don't know a single bodybuilder that says, yeah, I take a gram a week of testosterone and I went to the Olympia with that. No, they're taking trenbolone, they're taking D-bol, they're taking Winstrol, they're taking Anadrol, they're taking on and on and on. They're taking the stuff that can harm them. The guys that are just taking testosterone, I'm sorry, we haven't seen it. I'd really love to see it. I'd really love someone to say, here are 10 studies of guys that were on TRT and look at the harm it caused. And I'm going to look at it and say, holy shit, this is legit. This is compelling. Okay, we're going to need to investigate this because I want to protect my health long-term, and I definitely don't want this to happen to me. So let me find out what the percentages and what kind of doses were these guys doing and what else. I'm going to want to look into it. I haven't seen any, guys. I haven't. So when you're listening to guys like this Dr. O'Connor, again, it's the fear and the fear and the fear. Stop being afraid. Right now, everyone is afraid. Everyone is afraid based on no data. We have no data where we should be afraid. Okay, so it's kind of like someone telling me I should be afraid of the killer unicorn that's been flying around the neighborhood. Well, there's no evidence that there's a killer unicorn. No, but there is. You got to be afraid. You got to be afraid because if it shows up, it's going to cause harm. Well, can you show me evidence of this flying unicorn first before I start worrying about something that can cause harm? There's no evidence, guys. There is no evidence. Stop being so afraid. Stop listening to people that are pushing your making you worry, making you stress. This stuff is easy. If you have all the symptoms of low testosterone and you've ruled out every other factor imaginable, you can say, let me give this a try, even if it's just for the short term. Because if it's for the short term, you can usually restart your natural production fairly easily. Okay. If you're on testosterone replacement therapy for 10 years and you want to restart your natural production, yes, it's more difficult, but you can do a trial. And if you say, oh my God, I feel so much better, you have to make a decision. Do I feel better enough that I will do this for the rest of my life because I don't want to go back to the old way? Yes or no? That's it. Okay. That's really all there is to it. Make the right decisions. Don't get on TRT for the wrong decisions from all I explained.
You guys don't hear the horror stories of the people who decided to be bodybuilders and decided to, cash in their natty card and then their bodies just got destroyed because genetically, I guess they couldn't handle what they were putting in their body or they were doing it wrong.
And again, he mentions at one point that, he's comparing testosterone with a cycle. I'm not viewing it as a cycle. I have no will whatsoever to get jacked up like some big bodybuilder. Okay. I don't. I just want to be healthy. Derek is talking about guys, that they put on mass, and mass is an indicator to lower mortality. Yeah. If you're going to be a 250, 260 pound guy, it's going to put some strain on your heart. Okay. I'm just shy of 6 feet and I'm 195 pounds. I got very little body fat. I'm in the best health of my life. There's nobody on the planet that's going to tell me that I'm carrying around too much weight and that this little bit of extra muscle I put on is going to cause me any harm down the road. If anything, it's going to exponentially improve my quality of life because I'm going to hope to maintain some of this as long as I can so that instead of getting old and frail, I'll get old and maybe not so frail, right? So I don't get why everyone gets angry with what other people want to do with their bodies. I don't get that. I don't get why there has to be a come out video with guys having to justify what they want to do with their own bodies. I don't get that either. Okay. And you guys are going to look at me and say, yeah, but Danny, you're getting angry. I'm getting angry at the judgmental bullshit. Okay. That's what makes me angry. The judgmental bullshit. Somebody wants to go do something, leave them alone. Ensure that you put out the right information, that someone can make an educated decision with their own physician, and what they choose to do with their body is their body. Okay. Scott Herman, what I would maybe suggest you do is work on the training using the Scott Herman training principles, because I think you got some catching up to do. I really do suspect, and I got a lot of feedback on this, that your testosterone levels are probably really low, because if you're training as well as you are, I think that your body would probably be more impressive. And I'm wondering if you're getting frustrated with everyone else because you're just not seeing the kind of gains that the guys on testosterone are getting. Maybe something you want to look into. All bullshit aside, if you want a good doc to take care of you, I know several. You can happy to reach out to me, but I don't know if you're doing this because you feel like you're suddenly at this big disadvantage, or you're getting frustrated with your own progress. So anyways, that's my rant for this weekend. Steven, you know what the funny thing is with Steven? I told him that I don't want to make too many videos these days. But then he says, Danny, watch this video. And I start watching it and I'm like, God damn! And I just take out the paper and I start writing notes with all the stuff that's wrong with it. And then he writes me back with a smiley face, and I'm like, "You bastard! You make me do another video."
Yeah, Danny, awesome, because I always enjoy your rants, man. So for the viewers, please leave your comments under the video. Tell me and Danny what you think about us, about this topic. Yeah, what is your opinion, guys, about TRT, about Derek, about Scott Herman? Are they right? Are they the experts? Or you might prefer one of the doctors that is in our Facebook group, TRT and Hormone Optimization. Thank you so much, Danny.
All right, thanks, Stephen. Have a good one.
Hey, thanks for watching, and now click on one of these thumbnails to learn a ton more about TRT and hormone optimization.